times ahead. Let's move away from that. There's a lot to talk about. Let's talk about MPs trying to. Let me start with your husband. Impeach Cicely Kariuki, leveling all manner of accusations against her. Do you think they have any merits, or is it?
Well, I think over history, we've had a legislative arm of the government that sometimes is fairly uncomfortable with the bureaucrats who are doing their work. And you look at the affront on Cicely Kariuki. I mean, there are a lot of issues there, and I don't think impeaching her is prudent in this case, because if you ask me, whatever she's doing, any other cabinet secretary would do. What we need to just put into context is what are the underlying factors that inform the choices that she's making in suspending people, in dealing with the KNH issue. So if you look at it broadly, you realize that the bulk of what MPs are doing is actually driven by political interest, which is very unfortunate. And we've seen this happen to Monica Juma when she was presented in Parliament, and they totally rejected her the first time she was appointed a cabinet secretary to replace Anne Waiguru. And the motive was very simple, that when they were looking for favors, she declined a lot of the favors. Essentially, they were actually out to finish her for doing what she was appointed to do. And I think that is the same thing here, that the whole idea of trying to send Cicely Kariuki home through Parliament is politically motivated. But let me just respond to what Mark has said and Professor Kithure Kindiki. I mean, it's unfortunate that people look at what Raila do and blame him for doing what at some point people celebrate. When he joined KANU and KANU imploded, I mean, some of these folks were calling him a hero, because it gave them an opportunity to even dislodge KANU from power. So in 2003, no one was complaining about Raila and what he did in KANU. And he didn't even do something out of this world. He just took a few people who had divergent view, who until then were very silent and very uncomfortable.
I'm sure KANU people will not be congratulating him. And if he does the same to Jubilee,
people may not be congratulating him. But if it is good for Kenyans, I think we need to look at it in perspective. At the time he left KANU, I mean, whatever he did, all Kenyans celebrated.
So what about Ford Kenya?
No, Ford Kenya is a totally different ballgame. He left as an individual.
All right, let's not get into the history of Raila Odinga's political party hopping. Let's get back to the health, Cicely Kariuki. Butinda, there is the issue of Kenyatta National Hospital and how she has dealt with it, suspending the boss, Lily Koros, members of parliament from the Rift Valley coming out with the narrative of our person is being targeted. Is there a need really to bring politics into this? As KNH blunders continue.
I'm one of the people who are fully behind what the CS did. And there is no basis for the accusations that are being leveled against her. And it's worth noting that she was just 2 weeks old in a new cabinet docket when she took that action. And we've been having...
So it's not possible that she has a salon in there in 2 weeks?
No, I don't think she's still setting up. Actually, I saw the office being handed over the other day, and if they were accusing her of ills she might have committed when she was in the other ministry, then probably would give them audience.
Right.
But for doing what she did, I'm personally one of the people who strongly support such actions, because impunity in the public sector is because of lack of consequences. That people, commit sins of commission and omission and nothing happens. So we need a leader like Cicely, where you know that whenever there's a problem in your docket, then there's likely to be some action from above in an effort to correct whatever wrongs that are happening. So instead of attacking and threatening Cicely, they should have been very supportive, because all Kenyans know that there is a problem with Kenyatta. And one thing that we must say is that Kenyatta is very, very important. I think all of us have someone who's somehow, one way or the other, got their life saved in Kenyatta. And you can imagine if it was functioning like it ought to be, then we would be in a much better position as a country in terms of our public health sector. So if we see someone who's starting to do things that are clearly meant at correcting the ills that are at Kenyatta, then that is someone who should be supported. Right. Then let me also say this, that you see, the Auditor General every year releases a report. The controller of budget also does the same. The primary recipients of this report, as per law, are the National Assembly when it comes to matters to do with the national government, and the Senate and the county assemblies when it comes to matters to do with the county governments. I am yet to see such an effort from the legislators to add people who've been named severally as having misappropriated our money. We need to be seeing action when there's a clear legal basis for them to take action, because those are legal bodies. They are independent constitutional commissions funded by taxpayers, yet their reports don't seem to mean much.
Right.
If I would see them attacking a CS or any other government official based on such reports, then I would be very supportive, because that is how to give these reports life. Otherwise, it is always, business as usual. The editor general report, the newspapers break down, serialize all that he has said. Then after a week, all that. So you wonder, why then don't they have such initiatives when we have people who've been named as having messed with our money? It would make much more sense, and we would be more than willing as the public to support them. All
right. Dismus, if you can weigh in very quickly on the Sicily karaoke issue.
Well, a number of investigations have been done, and the feedback is that doctors at KNH hardly follow the standard operating procedures, and the buck stops with the CEO. It seems to me that the leadership at KNH is no longer interested over the welfare of their primary business, that is the patients. One would easily come to the conclusion that this war is driven by the tender wars, that KNH has got a big, fat budget, and everybody wants to have access to it. And that makes you understand the response. That if you got MPs largely from Rift Valley region who are saying that our own daughter is being persecuted here, let's come and support her. Then you get MPs from largely central Kenya who are saying, wait a minute, whatever Sicily Karaoke has done is the right thing. There's not a single MP in Kenya who is talking about the patients. And the primary concern of KNH, and as Kavemba has indicated, is the patient. Who is talking about the patient? You've got a leadership in Kenya, when their bank balances or their pecuniary interests are being threatened, then they unleash a number of MPs from their region. It's very curious that the MPs from Rift Valley who says that Sicily Karaoke has not been performing her business have again not laid charges. They've not indicated in black and white that this is what Sicily Karaoke has done. Instead, what do they say? That she's getting a new office, she's establishing a pedicure and a manicure center, instead of telling us the administrative issues where she's failed. And I think maybe moving forward, we need to start taking these legislators into task. That you come from Rift Valley. If Koros was not a resident of, say, Kericho, would you come up with a similar defense if you reverse the roles? If it's maybe a fellow from my constituency, Kitucha South, who had been fired, would you have the legislators from Rift Valley coming on board and making noise? Would you have legislators from Central Province coming up on board?
Right.
And I think the biggest challenge you have in our leadership today is about the pecuniary interest. Nobody is interested about the patient. Nobody is interested about public service. If they were, then they would have socialized with the Auditor General's report and would have many heads rolling. There's a pertinent case in question right now. The KCC is being investigated on corruption issues, where you have milk farmers who've delivered, they've not been paid. You have suppliers who've not been paid in a year. Now, you would expect MPs from milk areas, Central Province, Kisii, coming on board and saying, wait a minute, what is happening with the KCC? Now, we leave it to Okiya Mtata to write a letter to the Anti-Corruption Authority saying, the managing director, a fellow by the name Nick Kosgei, is being accused of irregularities. Where are these MPs who are paid a fortune to sit at the National Assembly? Instead of investigating key issues affecting Wananchi, they're all over talking about pedicure and manicure.
Very good questions there for them. Mark, very quickly, before we get into one more thing.
On page 13 of the Standard, Mandera baby undergoes surgery. And it says the baby has undergone surgery on a tumor successfully at the Kenyatta National Hospital. This country has a very skewed way of reporting news. And our obsession with bad news is bordering on the plot 10 mentality that we used to see on TV in the 90s. The fact of the matter is this. The problems at Nairobi, at Kenyatta National Hospital, are not problems led by Sicily or by Koros. That's not their problem. The problem is we have a national hospital which we have underfunded, we've neglected, and our healthcare system in general has been ignored. So we are talking about the sideshow when the main cause is actually rotting on our plates. MPs, as Dismus has correctly put it, need to talk about when was the last time they funded KNH in terms of maintenance, in terms of getting new material. When was the last time the government of this country bought a single bed on in Kenyatta National Hospital? Those are the issues that we need to discuss.
All right, I agree with you. Those are very real issues. But also that sideshow is also an issue because it came about as a result of a surgery mix-up that happened at Kenyatta National Hospital. You can't neglect that, right?
You see,
it's a sideshow that is important.
Let me tell you, and let me be quite practical and statistical with this. There was a mix-up. Kenyatta National Hospital does over 27,000 surgeries a year. Okay? 27,000.
Are you saying one mix-up is
excusable? Actually, I'm not saying it's excusable. I'm telling you, look at the standards of healthcare. And let me tell you the truth. It might not be popular, but across the world, doctors do make mistakes. They are not born from different mothers and fathers from us. Let's not lie to ourselves. Your mechanic makes a mistake. Teachers make mistakes. Everyone in this world makes mistakes. Let us deal with the real issues behind Kenyatta's mistakes. The surgeon in question, for example, there are only 2 neurosurgeons available at Kenyatta on any given day. That was his 5th surgery of the day. One surgery does not take 2 minutes. So at the end of the day, if you're going to tax these people this much, you're not going to punish them for making a mistake. These are the things that we need to resolve.
All right.
If you are talking about having 10 neurosurgeons there and they make a mistake, let's discuss. I am sorry for the family that had...
sorry to use heads. Heads should roll, right?
No.
Because let me ask this question. One more question for you, Mark.
Yes.
Dismus and Mutinda say that the primary concern for KNH is a patient. This guy who had his skull cracked open by mistake.
Yes.
Who should he ask questions?
No. First, there is the attending nurse. There's the receiving nurse. There's a whole bunch of
people. Well, there's
KNH.
He's asking KNH the question. It doesn't matter whether
the question we have to ask ourselves, is it individual responsibility or is it a statewide national responsibility? What I am saying here, it is not Lily Koros's fault and it is not Sicily's fault either. The reality of the matter is we've underfunded Kenyatta National Hospital, which is the most important hospital in the region. If we had done better, we would not be having this problem of trying to pick and choose. It's like saying, let's not lock our doors, but today, Ben, because you are the watchman and we were robbed, let's hang you. It does not make sense. Change the damn door. That's what we need to do as a country.
All right, we've finished. We're done for time, but Dismus.
Yes, I just wanted to emphasize on what he has said. When you're talking about patients, we should run away from treating a patient as a piece of statistics. For the patient who went to hospital and an operation was done, an erroneous operation was done, somebody must take responsibility. Whether it's going to be the medical doctor, whether it's going to be the nurse, whoever it is, the buck has to stop somewhere. But when you look at the overall hospital, KNH, where does the buck stop? The buck stops with the CEO. So if you're going to allow mistakes to take place everywhere, in every government institution, and the buck doesn't stop anywhere, then we don't have a country. Then let's just degenerate into some place in Lake Victoria, and everybody does his business. The reason why you have a constitution is to make sure that we kill impunity, mediocrity, and corruption. The buck has to stop somewhere. Maybe the question we are supposed to be asking, should the buck stop with Koros, or should the buck stop with Sicily Karaoke, or should the buck stop with the patient who was unable to get superior medical facilities, or maybe because of their socioeconomic status, they found themselves at KNH. There's no way you can give an excuse for poor identification of a patient and you say, we've done 27,000 successful surgeries, so one goes wrong, let's break into a dance and song and make merry. No way. A family has lost a breadwinner, a mother, a father, and everybody. So we can't ignore that.
No family lost anyone in that mixed surgery. Let's be very clear. And number two, if you're going to sit on national television and you're going to give information, you must base it on fact. The fact of the matter is this. Do pharmacists at the dispensary make mistakes? Yes, they do. Do doctors make mistakes? Yes, they do. It is a function of humanity. Today, when you put your money in the bank, certain amounts of it are lost through cybercrime. Do banks make mistakes? Yes. So
does somebody take responsibility?
Listen, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that people should not take responsibility.
Mark,
I am saying
exactly what
the responsibility is this, that we've underfunded our national hospital, we've not given them resources to work, and then we're blaming them.
All right, let me bring an end to the derby.
But I think the key thing here is that it was not a question of negligence. So you cannot then focus on individuals. Yes. You need to focus on the system. Mm-hmm. And when the cabinet secretary is looking at the system in its entirety, he's exposing himself. And therefore, we need to ask ourselves, what exactly is she doing? And
who says
that is the opportunity that MPs are not giving her. They are going for her neck.
Who says it's not negligence?
I mean, it has been proved. I mean, doctors have talked about it, that it was not a question of a doctor who did something wrong, knowing that he was doing something wrong.
It was a result of somebody somewhere being negligent,
yes.
whether it was a doctor or
Yes. It was a systemic thing, that the handover and stuff is what led to this, this mix-up.
All right.
So it's not like you can charge an individual, but we are right to question.
But Lily Koros should take responsibility. The buck stops at her door.
And I think, yes, she was sent.
That is what Dismus is saying.
Yes. But we are saying that should not be the end to it. Yes. And we should know the reason why she was sent home, so that we make an objective, informed decision on whether it is right or wrong.
30 seconds only.
My remarks is that you cannot give all the excuses that Mark is trying to give to avoid holding people accountable. It would be wrong, and it is in the interest of this country that public servants are held accountable if they are found to be culpable. So there is no excuse about the number of surgeries that they've done successfully, the way they are tired, and all that does not waive the responsibility of
let's bring
when they are doing their work. So holding people accountable, the principle here is accountability.
Let's end it there. In my profession, they say you're as good as your last story. It doesn't matter how good you are. But let's leave it there in terms of what's happening in the newspapers, some of the issues that we have been reporting on that have been making headlines in the past 1 week. Let's take a quick commercial break here on Sunday edition. We come back. We'll talk about the data